Prepare to
My parents were dead, to begin with. They had died a week earlier, and while I was obviously sad, it was not the crushing blow that it could have been. It's just that I was an only child, and we were distant emotionally, if not physically. They were both professors. My parents were kind, frugal, attentive, fiercely intelligent, and wholly unemotional. As their sole heir, I got everything. They had made a decent living, which means that the sum total of their financial assets was just enough to pay the inheritance tax on their home, and I moved in. I was clearing out a lot of their worthless old shit, and they had a lot of worthless old shit, when I started working through a collection of books in the guest room that had been my bedroom 18 years ago. One book caught my eye. While most of them were headed for the library, Goodwill, or the trash, I figured this one could be worth something, if for nothing else than the fact that it looked at least 100 years old. I opened it up to a random page in the middle and skimmed the words. "You're reading this, Peter, and we're clearly dead." I snapped the book shut and looked around the room. Fat as a mouse. What the fuck? What are the odds that my name would appear in this random page in my parents' house right after my parents had died? I hadn't marked the page, so I could not find any context. To be honest, I didn't really want to. I opened the book anyway. Random page, dealer's choice. "You need to get it together, Peter. There's a demon in the room." Nope. I closed the book, placed it on the bed, and walked to the door. Of course it was locked, despite it having no lock, as I found to my great frustration in my waning hormonal teenage years. I had inherited my parents' logic and just enough of their emotional distance to know what I had to do. I crossed the room and opened the book again. "Peter, there isn't much time. It's trying to cross over, probably under the bed." I looked instinctively downward and saw nothing unusual under there. Wait, there was a thin plume of smoke, barely perceptible. Oh shit. Read, Peter, read. "You have to stop it from entering. I know that the logical part of you wants an explanation, but that same logical part must be telling you right now that the explanation has to wait. Now is the time to act." God damn it, they knew me so well. I ignored the steadily increasing billow of fumes and read furiously forward. "In the cupboard across the room you will find a pocket watch, a rosary, and a small canister of Morton's salt. Retrieve those now." I crossed the room to my old dresser and opened it up. I shuffled a few random things around. Why did my parents have a bird's call? Until I found an Elgin pocket watch and the salt. But no rosary. I read further. "In the sock drawer, Peter, near the back where you used to hide your magazines." Clearly this was my mom writing, and there would be some serious therapy issues to address later. I opened up the drawer and reached behind the obvious false back. I retrieved an onyx rosary. The smoke was beginning to choke me now, and flames were beginning to leap up from under the bed. "Put a salt ring around the bed, son, and do it now." So my dad had taken over the pen. I really wanted to sit and look ahead in this book. The words were not materializing as I read. They sat in faded ink, bearing the marks to indicate that they had laid there for all time. What else was written? No time for questions. I made the salt ring. I felt like an idiot at first, because I saw nothing happen. Then I noticed that the smoke billowing upwards was confined to an ellipse around my bed. The only plumes that continued to haunt the room were what had been there before the salt ring was made. Time to go back to the book. You need to hold the demon at bay, Peter. Stop the watch and hold it in your left hand. I looked at the pocket watch. It seemed to be 100 years old. It was silver-plated and had a single crown at the top. I pulled it. The ticking stopped. I put it in my left hand. Now hold it there, son. Pick up the rosary in your right. It was clearly my father writing again. He was the only one to call me son, and had such a knack for making me feel awkward, showing no realization or concern about what he was doing. How was I supposed to hold a book, a rosary, and a watch with 2 hands? I awkwardly held the book in the watch hand, ignoring the growling sound now emanating from beneath my childhood bed. It wobbled as I read. The demon is subdued. Remember that, it is important. Now he will rise. You know that feeling when you open an oven at 400 degrees, when a whoosh of heat lifts up to embrace you? Imagine that coming from your bed. I ignored the figure now standing before me. I was terrified, but if I let go of my one lifeline, fear would be all I had left. I was too scared to stop reading. This next part takes courage, Peter. You have to face the demon. There's no one else in the house to do it, and he will be nearly uncatchable if he gets loose. I closed my eyes and counted to 5. My dad always told me to do that when things got especially rough. When I ran out of numbers, I ran out of options. Read or... Nope, just read. With your rosary hand, reach past the flames. This will hurt. Grab the demon by the neck. Nope, nope on a rope. I ran for the door. It was still locked. When I was younger, my father read me a poem called The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. I didn't understand a damn word, but my parents didn't have the emotional capacity to convey disappointment, approval, or encouragement, so I have no idea if my dad was let down. Instead, he explained to me that most people are content to be minor players in the game of life and simply don't want to be great. I said that it made no sense and asked him why anyone would want it. He simply retorted, in his logical way, by asking me if I was the most popular kid in school, or the most athletic, or had the highest grades. When I said no to all of them, he asked if I was doing anything at all to change that fact. Again, I said no. Well, he responded to me, if you have no ambition to be the greatest of a few hundred children, how do you ever expect to be great in the world of adults? Isn't it because you're happier staying where you are? A lot rushed to me at once. My parents were dead, their stories were written and finalized. Mine would be one day too. Did I really want to live a life where I was afraid to lose anything? What would that mean when, at the end, I lost everything? I rose to my feet, held the watch aloft, and advanced on the demon. It had the form of a man, the outline subtle yet undeniable through the flames. He looked at me and smiled. I wrapped the rosary around my fist and wrapped my fist around its neck. Fuck, it burned! It gave me an inhumanly angry glare, but did not fight back, as though its hands were bound. I grasped the watch tighter. I knelt to the ground and pulled it downward. Surprisingly, I had the strength to slam it to the floor. The demon whimpered. Shit, it hurt. Ignore the pain for now, Peter. You have to open the door. The reading got bleary as tears of pain welled up in my eyes. Feel for it on the ground. I reached in deeper under the bed. I was sure that my skin was melting off. But I found a handle and I yanked it upward. Wedge the handle in the space between your box spring and the edge of the bed, the book continued. Some distant part of my mind reasoned that my parents must have known about the demon portal under my bed, raising a lot of questions for another day. I pulled my hand back in pain after I had forced the open door into place, but made myself keep reading. I wanted to be done with this, so I could writhe in agony undisturbed. "Push the demon down the hole," it simply said. I looked at its yellow eyes and was confused for a moment. Then I realized that it was scared. I didn't know what I was fighting for, really, but I suddenly was aware of just how powerful I had become. I grabbed the monster's neck, shoved him in the hole, and he fell. His scream echoed on the way down. I closed the hatch. The next 5 minutes were spent in fetal position, cradling my right hand. I did not notice until much later that the smoke had nearly dissipated. When the pain finally ebbed, but did not disappear, I examined my hand. Not a scratch on it. I opened the book again, not even bothering to look for my lost page. The pain in your hand will persist for some time, son, but it will be fine physically. The pain will be coming from another place. I suddenly remembered my father limping for the last 5 years of his life with no explanation as to its sudden onset. My attention went back to the book. That's your cross to bear for the time being. Let it go. For now, there's work to be done. The chapter ended just like that. The next one was a chapter of an unrelated novel that was incredibly boring. When I looked back to the previous chapter, my parents' words were still exactly as they had appeared. The book did not seem to have been altered in any way. Now what? All I know is that everything that seemed so important can't hold my attention for more than 5 seconds. To be honest, if you told me that my previous life, bank account, car, job, friends, everything, was suddenly gone forever, I would actually be okay with that. Hell, it would be a relief in some way. There's a bigger fish, a whale, swimming in the ocean of my existence. I have absolutely no idea what it is, but I intend to catch it. It's time to search my parents' house. It's in the dustiest books that you may find the best stories.